Winning doesn't make you heartless, but it teaches you to use your heart less. My dad's job was to dispose of those bodies. Now, this is a man that was called a doctor back in the old country. Now, when you dispose of these cadavers, it's not a garbage truck that comes and picks them up. You have to dismantle them. You have to cut off their legs. You have to cut off their arms. You have to cut off their head, and you throw them in a furnace. I saw him do that when I was 4 years old. My parents couldn't afford babysitters. My mom worked at night. My dad worked during the day. So when you were off from school, guess what? You can't disturb mom because she's worked 16 hours that night. You go to work with your dad. My dad said, he goes, son, never let your pride get in the way of doing what's necessary and providing for the people you love. It doesn't get any darker than that. You know what people talk about? Sacrifice that others did for them. Very few get to actually witness it and remember. There's certain memories that people have when you go way back in age and they can't even remember. I have vivid memories of those things and how not only did they mold him, how they molded my brother, the effects it had on both of us, positive and negative. And I understand how to use that darkness in the most positive way, just like my dad did. And I always say this, and this is why when we talk about the dark and the darkness and the dark side and all that other stuff, people forget this. I always say this, when does a new day start? It starts at midnight. If you go visit the darkness that you've been running from, you'll have the opportunity to leave a better person. You'll have a better understanding of yourself. But if you don't take that trip and the darkness comes visit you, it's a guest that will never leave. Everybody has these grandiose dreams and these daydreams about success and money and fame and power. And I always say, winning never visits you in your daydreams. It sees you in your nightmares. The things that you come visit you in your nightmares, those things are real. Those are the things that you have to deal with. Those are the monsters underneath the bed. Those are the skeletons in the closet. Those are the things that you've put away. And some of the stuff that you've put away and you don't want to deal with is some of the best part of you. People always say, always show up positive. You know, always bring your positivity. Well, that means you only bring half of you. That means you're not accepting the other half. You got to bring the light. You got to bring the dark. You got to bring the good. You got to bring the bad. You have to have conversations with those skeletons in your closets. They know you better than you know yourself. In order to stand out, in order to fight, many times you have to become that monster. But most individuals, when they become that monster, they don't know how to control it. And they let the monster control them. And some days, not all the popular things are going to get a vote. Success may not get a vote. Winning may not get a vote. But you've made that decision that now this thing gets a vote. I must be ready to deal with it. Every single day, there's something different. There also has to be something different about yourself. And I said this in winning, different scares people. And people just say, I'm not going to do that. It's the people that run the ultra marathons. It's people that take these ice baths. It's, you know, it's all out there. Now, that doesn't mean if you do those things, you're going to excel in other aspects of your life, but it does raise your level of understanding that nothing great is going to come without you having to deal with what I call adversity and pain tolerance. There's a big thing that we used to use with Kobe all the time is I used to ask individuals, if you're interested in taking your business or your basketball game, your football skills, and this, we'd have a room of thousands and thousands of people stand up.
If you're interested in taking it to number one.
The next level. For some people, it may not be number one, whatever it is. Everybody claps up. And then I say, sit back down. Then I would ask them, I said, all right, if you're obsessed with taking your business, your sport, whatever it is, to another level, stand up. And everybody would stand up again. Well, I would say, well, which one is it? You can't be interested and you can't be obsessed. Interested is a hobby. Kobe Bryant was not interested in winning championships. He was obsessed. And obsession comes in the small details that nobody pays attention to. And I have a saying, all right? Interested people watch obsessed people change the world. I knew what the consequences was. I knew what the cost was going to be. It may have not been at that particular moment, but I knew down the line, if I go do this decision, somewhere down the line, this is what it's going to cost me. I tell the story in the book where my daughter came up to me when she was like 5 years old and says, "Daddy, why do you travel so much?" And so I said, "Sweetheart, this is how I take care of the family. This is how I provide for you. This is how I take care of Mom. This is how I put a roof over the head. This is how I put food on the table." She goes, "Daddy, if I eat less, will you stay home more?" At age 5. I was packing for a trip. Now, if this was a fairy tale, I'd have unpacked my bag, I'd have grabbed her hand, we'd have went out for ice cream. I kept packing. Now, I'm not telling anybody out there that's a decision they should make, but that was my decision. And then many years later, I sat down my daughter and I said, "Hey, I want to talk to you." And I wanted to discuss with her why Dad is the way he is. And before I could even start, she goes, "Dad, I understand." So sometimes when you think you're making the wrong decision or you have to making the toughest decision because you're thinking about somebody else and the consequences, if you think the price of winning is too high, wait till you get the bill from regret. And that bill from regret is generational. And there's a lot of people listening to this. That bill has been passed on from generation to generation, and you are holding that bill right now. And somebody in one of your generations has to pay that bill off. Everybody remembers the one event you don't show up for. And I guaranteed every individual who's won at multiple things, who's been successful at many things over and over again, at some point in your career, some point in your life, you forgot a very important date, you missed an event, you just did, but nobody wants to talk about it because people are going to judge you on that one thing.